It's not what you think New York is, yet it is everything you think New York is. Hi, I'm Chloe. We are currently in Bensonhurst at Seth Low Playground, which is kind of the center of this neighborhood and the center of a lot of community activities. And I am a teacher and former journalist. I currently live in Bensonhurst, which in the past elections have voted pretty red. And this part of the city is often ignored, not just by its own people, but by its government as well. There is a perception of New York to be this beautifully diverse, multicultural space that is progressive and liberal. And that is a lot of the city, but also a big part of the city are the parts that we would see are flawed. It's the people who vote red. It's the people who stick to their own community and don't expand outwards. Those are people who you might think there'd be no middle ground with. But those are also the people who have defended neighbors tirelessly. Neighborhoods like Bensonhurst that challenge us to think about every single person, every New Yorker, not just the New Yorkers that we agree with. And that includes whoever that was. I have a smoothie, an Adam and Eve smoothie from Abby's Coffeeshop, which is owned by this lovely man named Jorge. Yeah, and I chose Abby's because a lot of my journey in this neighborhood kind of happened concurrently with Jorge's start of his business here. So it has a really special place in my heart. Having these businesses that are run by people and owned by people who also care about the people who live here is really important in New York right now, as we are seeing so many private equity coffee shops pop up everywhere. It's an essential part of my day-to-day life, or at least my week-to-week life. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your time in journalism and your time working in that space.
Yeah. So I was an audio producer for, I would say I would round it up to 6 years probably. Especially in the last few years, a lot of my time in journalism has been shaped by a genocide and wars happening overseas that my own country is funding. There was a sense of duty on my part as an American citizen to really cover it and cover it well. It was really important to me to be accurate, and not only to be accurate, but make people want to know what was going on in their world. And I chose to leave journalism not because any of those values disintegrated when I hit 80 and I was looking back on my life. I didn't feel like the work I had been doing would be the work that I would be proudest of. And this coincided around the time I also started getting more involved in my neighborhood organizing. I grew up with a great aunt who was a teacher, and from a very young age, I felt empowered as a learner. Even before I entered the school system, I felt empowered to be curious about books, about people in my life. I felt like if I was placed in a room with adults, I wasn't just this helpless person. I was allowed to take up space. And a lot of that came from her teaching me that being curious is enough to allow me into those spaces. I am a New York City Teaching Fellow, which is this amazing program that trains us in a very intensive way for 3 months, or 8 weeks, I guess, specifically, to become the next cohort of teachers in the New York City public school system, which is also the public school system that I grew up in. I am currently on week 3 of this, and by September I will be teaching kindergarten and first graders with what they call moderate and severe autism. That basically translates to students with autism who are mostly nonverbal or unable to functionally communicate. Teachers are severely underpaid, but I don't think people understand exactly why. It's not necessarily the base salary, which still very low. The cost of living in New York is notoriously so high. It's hard to raise a family here. It's hard to find housing here, and it's hard to keep that housing once you have it because rent keeps going higher and higher. The support isn't necessarily just the salary, right? It's also what that salary has to get spent on. I've heard stories of teachers going into a classroom for the first time and they're not even being in the furniture that they need in the room, right? It needs to be not just raising the salary for teachers, but also making sure they don't have to spend their own money to provide for their student. All of these supplementary things should be coming from the school district because the city has the money for it. If we are to keep families here, if we are to keep all people here and the future generation of working adults here, we need to make sure that they have the education that they would be proud of, and that comes from also supporting the teachers who teach them. New York City public schools are amazing, and I am so grateful to now be a part of it on the other end.